Game number 2. The crazy news coming out yesterday, Mike Vrabel had tested positive for COVID-19, announced it in his media Zoom on Sunday. So as of now, I haven't seen any more news on that, but the Titans will finish practice during our show today. So if anything comes out new on the COVID stuff, we will let you know. But what we'll talk about today is what we saw on the field and who's making moves and who isn't making moves. And it's funny.
What's the moves made today, though, right?
Yeah, everybody.
On Monday.
The latest round of cutdowns had to happen, I guess, by the 24th, which is tomorrow at 3 o'clock. You had to be down to 80. So the Titans making their moves today. They waived Paul Adams, who's an unbelievable story. He got cut. Then they needed an offensive lineman. So he flew to Tampa, played in the game, got hurt.
Yeah, he hurt his wrist.
Yeah,
got through him and he put his hand down.
Oh gosh, it looked awful.
And it just looked like he broke that thing.
Can you give like football players out there some advice? Like, don't stick your arm down when you fall. You do something else, right?
Well, it's actually things that we commonplace think we should know to do as football players. But in this new day and age, learning how to fall, and I'm serious now. We used to do like mucky rolls and all those things. You'll never see anybody doing any of that, even from middle school to high school now. None of that. So you don't know how to fall. What do you mean you don't know how to fall? Well, how often are you falling? All right. Oh, well, he got yanked and jerked and thrown.
Yep.
And all he had to do was, I call it monkey roll. All he had to do was fall down and roll. He put his arm down, one arm, to think that was going to hold his 300-pound self without hurting something, whether it would have been elbow, ankle, wrist, the hand. So he shouldn't have put the hand down. But I know he felt like he was, in my mind, he should have just rolled with it.
Yep.
So here's what's happened. You always in some awkward positions as a player, or, some positions you never felt like you'd be in, and you kind of relax and go with it. If not, if you fight it, you will get injured. So I had to definitely learn that on the fly. I felt like my leg was going to get snatched up a couple times, and I just rolled with it. I got those bow legs, so they only go out. They don't go in. So if somebody hit me from the outside, that's like, what? And yeah, that's when I realized how I'm about to annihilate somebody. You tried to hurt me, man. So you got to learn how to fall, man, these days. This new modern era athlete in football. I think that's really more so what it was. But it looked like he had a ankle. I keep saying ankle, wrist or elbow type of injury.
Yeah, I only saw one replay of it, and that's all I needed to see. Like you said, that's a lot of weight on one wrist. Think about it. You're 300-plus pounds onto one wrist because his arm went straight down.
Well, first of all, I'd ask him, can you do a one-arm push-up? I'd ask him that, and I'm assuming he would say no. So then get a momentum and somebody throw you and then say, oh, okay, put one arm down, and that's going to support you on your fall. No, you take that shoulder right into the dirt, and you see what happens. It's hard to move a shoulder, especially when you're a big offensive lineman. May be sore, but you wouldn't have broke something or had to have surgery.
Well, I'm certain.
Hopefully it'll be fine, though.
Hopefully so, but was definitely a guy who stepped up for the team, flew down to Tampa after he'd been cut. They brought him back on the roster. He played in the game, got hurt again. So Paul Adams, again, local guys, Blaine pointed out a couple times on the show. So we obviously want the best for everybody, but we root hard for local guys. Tucker McCann is going to be one of those guys, Blaine, where a lot of people are going to forget his name eventually, but that guy might have been – well, Mike Keith said on the opening game broadcast.
Did he?
Last year when Brett Kern got hurt that Tucker McCann was going to punt in the game because he's a kicker and a punter at Missouri. And something happened with a quad, and they wound up putting him on injured reserve. But he was set to play in an NFL game. So then he comes out this year. He plays against the Falcons, and it's just one of those weird things. The guy tried to block the kick, was really late, rolled right into his foot. As soon as his foot came down, today he gets waived injured, Tucker McCann.
Yeah, bad luck, and you'll be interested to see if he gets another opportunity, whether it be this season or next season, not only with the Titans, with anybody, because you just never know how it's going to go. So you try to get healthy. We could say, Fick is the guy now, but he could, mess up and falter in the middle of the season. So you got to stay ready to rock and roll. But, man, I'm a big proponent, I think, on kicking is in the college level. I think being able to do both is awesome. At the pro level, it's absolutely horrible. It's a total different mechanism that you're producing power at a whole different level in the NFL. And as you've seen, most of the times that's never worked in the National Football League. Works all the time in college. I mean, at the highest, SEC.
That guy was in the SEC. Yeah. It doesn't get any better.
But it doesn't work the same if you want to be effective and consistent at your job. And I bet you that's why he pulled. I wasn't there. I have no idea. But you're changing your kicking mechanics. And if you hadn't been doing it for a while, and all of a sudden now you want to go do it, that's just like me. Oh, I haven't been sprinting for a while. I'm asking for a hamstring injury. Immediately, if I go out here and try to run a 40, it's impossible. I just, he hadn't been, punting. So all of a sudden now he starts to punt. He probably wasn't doing a good job. And then goes back out there another day and boom, there you go to quad. Yeah, because you haven't been doing this. You need to stop this. You only do kicking. Two different deals. So, yeah, unfortunate. But maybe the end, though, also. Hate to be Debbie Downer. When you're a kicker, you only get so many opportunities. And bad luck there on the injury to the Falcons, man, because I think they wanted him to win the job.
Yeah.
And he was, deservingly so, was doing well. Then your man, Will Hoyt, got Fickin up there kicking for 58, looking comfortable.
Hey,
he kicked the kickoff and it hit the goalpost.
I know.
Who the heck does that? I can't remember. Did Rob Aronis do that? I'm trying to think what kickers have done that.
Rob had a leg of steel.
Suck up did it when we played at Kansas City, maybe.
Suck up hit a real long field goal against Kansas City from the Arrowhead at Arrowhead. Mike Keith's call, one of the and that it was so cold that day, and he still made that kick. Unbelievable. Yeah, boy, Rob Baronis had a dang cannon for a leg. Yeah, rest in peace, Rob Baronis. Yeah, oh man. Yeah. Ross Reynolds, another O lineman. All these guys got waived injured. Ross Reynolds also, and then reserve COVID-19 list for defensive lineman Anthony Rush, the big dude, the big fella, who's been playing really well.
Oh, he tested.
So, and it just
means. He must have been around Vrabel.
Means close contact. So, seriously.
Right, I don't know.
But now answer me this, and maybe we'll get more of an explanation.
Well, first of all, I'm not a doctor, but, I dream to be one.
I know.
You're going down that road.
But I guess as long as you test negative, then you can just keep it moving. But Vrabel was around everybody. Talked to Tom Brady. He was in a golf cart with Bruce Arians. I mean, Vrabel was everywhere. That's just going to be crazy to me. This is what I'm trying to say is this virus is so unpredictable. If he's the only guy who winds up with it, as he coached a game, they practiced together, everybody was right there with everybody. This is just such an unbelievably unpredictable disease, this COVID. And I had it. I mean, there's a lot of people listening who've had it. But if he's the only guy who winds up getting it, it's going to be amazing to me. And I know
he tested positive once he got back.
Yes.
So
maybe it didn't manifest itself until then. Right. I know they're wearing masks and they're just about all they may all be vaccinated by now, all of the Titans. And I guess it's like, again, we're not
but
scientists.
He's the head coach, isn't he, around everybody?
Everybody. And remember in practice, he gets hit by people and goes at guys. He's got his pads and.
Yeah, I think that's crazy.
I mean, he's really active. Yeah. That is crazy.
Ooh. Man, that looked like it hurts my shoulders.
He played how many years? Like 13 years in the league, and now he's out there taking more hits from huge people.
He's
Come
a
on,
strong
man.
Human being. He's a big guy, though.
Hey, Vrabel is big.
He's not a small fella.
No, like his frame.
Yeah,
you stand next to Vrabel, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's what NFL linebacker looks like. Looks like that guy right there. He still looks like it. Well, it certainly will let you know as things happen.
But he seems to be doing fine.
He seems to be doing fine.
Tested positive.
Yeah.
So he's got to stay away I think we'll learn all the rules with Rhett. I think, at least 10 days with positive or negative testing.
Now, Lucas has been doing these in his updates, and we're just catching him here in a drive-by. But isn't it if he tests negative twice, Lucas, in a row,
within a 48-hour window, right?
Then he can come back. Is that right? But then if not, it's just 10 days.
I believe so. Yes, I believe that is correct.
Ooh, I see how you opened that window there just in case you weren't exactly correct.
Yeah, just left it like a sliver open.
I mean, you can peep out of it now. Yeah. But the wide receiver room, we did the post-game show with our buddy Dr. Kevin Dyson, and we talked about the receivers for one entire segment of that show. And at the end, Dyson looked at both of us and said, you realize Cam Cameron Batson's been on this team like 3 or 4 years. We hadn't even mentioned him. And we were so deep in the room.
I think you got that wrong. I said that.
It was you said it.
Yeah, I said that.
And Des Fitzpatrick is a 4th-round draft pick. We never talked about him. We were talking about Chester Rogers and Mason Kinsey, and they are making this so difficult on the people who have to make the roster cuts because guys continue to play at such a high level. But I may have said this. There were years where we sitting here and thought, how in the world are they going to find 5 guys out of this room to 5 NFL receivers besides, the top 2 guys? And now it's like they're going to have to cut dudes who go places and play. John Robinson has built up a lot of talent on this roster, especially in some of those rooms, and the receiver room might be the best example of that. So you're going to cut 2 or 3 dudes that probably get some snaps and have catches somewhere this year.
We haven't found out really I guess, knee with A.J. Brown, so he may not be practicing this week. So I'm assuming he just had a little bit of swelling, and they just want to get it contained and make sure he's ready to rock and roll for a long little run here. But,
yep. Adam Schefter reporting this is Schefter, expected to be ready for the start of the regular season despite a knee injury that recently has sidelined him during recent practices. He used recent twice, Mr. Buffalo Bill Miracle Truther Adam Schefter.
So just my guess from watching Twitter, so I've only been out there twice watching practice, is when he had the red sleeve on his knee, it was some swelling in one of the knees. He got scoped, and they going, let's slow down. Wait a minute. We don't need any of this swelling. You're irritating it. Why go out here and practice? We know what you can do.
Right.
Get it back down. Get you back out here doing some drills, and then we'll go from there. Smart move, especially for the stud. And everybody's talking about, Julio or him and all that, but he is the number 1 receiver. Sorry, Charlie.
You got a chance to be a number 1 receiver for a long time. So if you don't practice some in your 3rd training camp, oh well.
Yeah.
We want you to be here a long time,
Right.
man.
Yeah.
So just go ice it down. Get in a cold tub. Have an ibuprofen and a smile. Rhett Bryan is going to jump in with us next. We'll get into all this stuff. Elijah Molden had a great game as Matt Barkley, the number 2 quarterback. Mekhi Sargent had 16 carries again and looked like a bowling ball out there finishing runs. That dude was finishing runs. We got to finish this segment, though. When we come back, Rhett Bryan is set to join us. Get the latest from Mr. Titans Radio himself. It's Monday. We got you covered. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone.
A.J. Brown, Bud Dupree, and Caleb Farley. You hear them on the exclusive Titan station.
104.5 The Zone.
This is
After the game, we were talking in the hallway before we went home after post-game, and he goes, this defense still hasn't even given up a touchdown in the preseason. I get it. It's backups and all that. Still, they're running around everywhere. They're playing with attitude. Guys are beating the guys in front of them, and that's all they can do. If Tom Brady's not out there, they just beat the next guy. They're beating the dudes in front of them.
And I think that's what you have to hang your hat on, is that given that it's 2s against 2s and 3s, whatever it is, they're still playing with the things that Coach Vrabel has said he wanted in his keys to his game the last 2 preseason games: intensity, effort, finish, discipline. There's not a lot of stupid penalties on their part, and the execution is there, and they're flying to the ball. You're right, and I that's what you want to see in this whole deal. And the hope is that September 12th they line up with Big Jeff, Danico Autry, and all the other starters that have been limited or have not seen anything in this, and move forward against what potentially could be a dangerous offense with Cliff Kingsbury and the Cardinals.
Yeah, I just don't want to. I couldn't imagine chasing around that quarterback all afternoon the way that guy
I don't want to
moves.
change. I don't want to chase around Kyler Murray. No.
On the Zone TV chat, Cousin Tower says, good afternoon, Rhett. And Carlos basically firing off a question. I know it's preseason, but it is an overreaction to be excited about the backups only giving up those 6 points in 2 games. Again, it's preseason. I get it. I don't think it's an overreaction.
I mean, it is what it is.
We're just reacting because they're doing it.
And here's the thing: those backups still have to make the final 53, and the ones that are consistently doing it are probably the ones who are going to do that. But yeah, I mean, there's positives to take out of this. There's plenty of work to be done, as the coaches and evaluators will tell you. But I like what I've seen in places so far.
Rhett Bryan, executive producer of Titans Radio, joins us here on Blaine and Mickey.
Well, give us clarity before we go into Floyd, and that's with the COVID-19 and what, Vrabel, who's now tested positive. What are the rules for him to come back in the situations where he could come back sooner than later, or based off his testing?
Sooner, 2 negative tests within 48 hours, and if not, 10 days of quarantine. That's where we are.
Now, he had to be around other people, whether it was in Tampa or here, and nobody else has tested positive, which is crazy, but we all know this is crazy anyway.
Yeah, I think the close contact stuff, which we don't know what those numbers are, I think that number would be interesting because, Lord knows the head coach is going to be around his players and his staff. So
at some point, whether you're at a mic and talking to them in a forum of a whole team or on the field, coaching staff meetings.
Right, and those those trackers they have are going to give them all the intel on that with those little tracing things they put in those bracelets or whatever. Now, don't forget now, they waived Paul Adams, Tucker McCann, and Ross Reynolds injured, but now defensive lineman Anthony Rush is on the reserve COVID-19 list.
Oh, man, he was doing pretty well. He had an outside shot of making it on the roster.
Yeah.
With the injury, I guess, what was the kid's whose foot is damaged? Cooley?
Oh, you're talking about Trayvon Coley?
Yeah.
Coley. Yeah, yep. Coley. Yeah, so that's going to be an interesting one to watch. Well, naturally, we had our dear friend Floyd Reese pass away, him and his wife, Sally, and the whole crew and family and friends of the family and everybody else. We all, are praying for them. But
yes.
I guess kind of take us through your relationship and your interaction with Floyd being with the organization for a while.
Well, as you well know, Floyd was good to just about anybody. He was very kind, very gracious with his time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hey,
and I think I've been thinking a whole lot about Miss Sally and the family and what they're going through. I can't imagine what that's been like since we got the news on Saturday that he had passed, and I'd learned that. Pretty brief illness, that he had gotten sick, and I'd learned that back in the early part of the summer, and that it wasn't going well. I think the thing that you can take solace in is that he knew that he was going to be inducted into the Titans Ring of Honor, and how excited he was that was such a big deal that Amy Adams Strunk would do that for him, and he certainly has his place there. Mm-hmm. He drafted Blaine Bishop, he drafted Eddie George, he drafted Steve McNair. He added top-notch free agents. He's the architect of the 99 Super Bowl team, and, I forget how many, 61 wins and multiple playoff appearances, 2 AFC championship game appearances. And his history goes back. I mean, he was with Bud Grant with the Vikings, way back when. It was a strength and conditioning coach when that wasn't a super popular thing to be, and learned, through the front office part of it, and became a very good general manager. A couple of stories I'd share with you. One of my most fondest Floyd Reese memories was the day of the AFC Championship game in Jacksonville. And I had told him briefly, he'd in passing, just, I'm not trying to bother the GM. His team's getting ready to play for a shot at the Super Bowl, and he doesn't need to be talking to me. But I said, Floyd, it's amazing how many of people around here are just talking smack. I mean, the weather lady on television that morning, it's a great day. It's going to be a beautiful forecast today and going to be in the high 60s, low 70s. Great day for the Jacksonville Jaguars to make their way to Super Bowl 34. Just a foregone conclusion. I said, Floyd, it's even down to the press elevator operator right there. This gentleman just in one of those yellow CSC jackets, running his gums, man, talking smack. He goes, oh, really? I said, yeah, they're really kind of super confident about this whole thing. And so it's all over. You guys have won it. You're going to Super Bowl 34. And here I am headed to that press elevator. And who is right in front of me? Floyd and Sally Reese. They're elated, happy as you'll ever see them. We get on the elevator. Floyd nudges me and goes, is that the gentleman? I said, yep. He said, boy, he just starts laughing. He had an infectious laugh.
He had
anyway.
a great laugh.
And we just had a great moment with that as we all walked to the locker room. And there's the celebration beginning as you guys are going to play for the world championship. I think about that. That was a really cool one. And I forget, what was the other thing I mentioned to you, Lucas, that I was going to talk about Floyd? I can't remember what I've been thinking about Floyd so much.
Oh, a call about Titans radio.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So I'm on this very station over 25 years ago. And it's a classic rock station. I'm playing Jethro Tull and Pink Floyd and whatever. And I'm working 7 to midnight. I'm the jock that works at night. And 30, 45 minutes into my shift, I get a call from Houston, Texas. And it is Floyd Reese's administrative assistant. His secretary is calling, and they're checking around town to see about who would be interested in carrying the radio rights. And I said, oh, ma'am, please, I want to give you this name. This is our general manager. In fact, here's his home number. You really need to talk to this guy. And little did I know, sometime later, here they are. They've won the bidding war and the rights of this thing. And, the Tennessee Oilers radio network, all of a sudden out of that is born and then becomes Titans radio. And but, yeah, I remember that vividly. That was a thing. But the part with Miss Sally and Floyd at the AFC Championship game, I'll never forget it. And later on, as we have loaded up our equipment and we're getting on the team buses to go back to Nashville, which, so many people were waiting at the stadium that night in 30-degree weather, he comes up and just gives me the biggest bear hug on the bus. He's just, you can't smack the smile off his face, and for obvious and good reasons. But, his contributions to the franchise are just, you can't measure them all. I mean, he really built the foundation for what is the Titans and got Titans fans so enthralled and engrossed in the fan base from day one, and did anything he could to pitch in and help that cause. And when he, Mike Keith shared the story this morning on J. Martin Ramon about how fired up he would get back before mobile apps and mobile tickets and electronic tickets, where people would wait at Ticketmaster outlets and at the stadium for single game ticket. He would get so fired up because so many people were waiting to just snap those things up. And he wanted to make sure that he tried to put the best absolute product out there for the fans' money. And he will be sorely missed. No question.
Yeah, no doubt. I would add to that he was the ambassador and the kind of the pillar and the foundation on the move and the transformation from Houston to here with Coach Fisher, and really been out in the forefront of everything, representing the organization. And that's who he was. And he was a fun-loving guy, and he was just kind of a down-to-earth guy that everybody could relate to. And I think that's what made him so special. I think that's why he's so beloved. And he didn't ever, he took things seriously. But, when things didn't go right or wrong, he always had this, all right, we'll learn from it. We'll move forward. And he would always come in, and talk to all the players afterwards, thank us for just even, performing and whether we won or lost. He said, hey, live for another down. He'd be pissed off probably for the next couple of days, just like everybody else, and then he'll move forward and move on. And I just appreciated his care and his love. I remember when they released me, he called, we had a conversation for about 30 minutes. It was just, it was heartbreaking. He was like, you've been the heart and soul of our team. Appreciate everything you've done and everything else. And so that was a great opportunity for me to say, oh, okay, well, thanks. I appreciate it. I was so good for you. You cut me, right? That's how I would talk to him. And he was like, yeah, all good things must come to an end. And that's what he would say, stuff like that, with a joke and a laugh, and says, but you'll be fine, and we'll eventually move forward, and it'll be hard to replace you. But at some point, we'll love you to be a Titan forever. So that's who he was, and that's how he would have conversation with guys. And I think they appreciated that, and that's what we were. We were all a big family, and that's how he made you feel part of the organization.
Well, and that's a perfect example right there. Is I know it pained him to make that phone call.
It did.
You were such a huge...
It pained me to take the call, too.
Well, I think that kind of goes without saying. That certainly is the worst part of that two-way street.
We're about Floyd,
but I know that hurt him. I'm sure it hurts John Robinson every time he has to do that with anybody, or Mike Vrabel.
But some, people are unattached. It's just like, hey, we're going to cut you by. Thanks.
Yeah, it's more of a business approach.
Yeah,
sure. I think about what John Robinson said Saturday in Tampa. And he told the story. He said, when I was being interviewed here, I called him to see if he would talk to Steve Underwood about considering my candidacy to be the next general manager. And he said, Floyd, without hesitation, did that. And that's the first time that he had talked to Steve Underwood since he had been let go as the general manager. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of person
that's
he was.
Who he is. Yeah, no doubt.
And what a huge move that has turned out to be for the Titans in John Robinson, who was carving out his own legacy in this thing. So, yeah, I mean, just something simple like that probably wasn't easy, but he did it.
Oh, Rhett Bryan, executive producer of Titans Radio, some great memories. Let's get into before you go. Let's talk a little bit about the current stuff and the roster that John Robinson has built. And Rhett, we were saying this in the first segment. We talked about a lot in the post-game show. I can remember in the past them struggling to find quality receiver depth at all. I mean, they struggled with wide receiver depth last year at the end of the year because of injuries. And they're going to cut dudes who've been incredibly good in this preseason. That room has been one of the more fun storylines to watch, and just a reminder of you can watch a guy go and give everything he's got and play as well as physically he can play, and maybe he's just in the wrong place at the wrong time, because that's going to happen to some of those dudes over there.
And that's how the Titans have acquired, and the other 31 teams in previous years have acquired things like that. It's just a numbers game where it just didn't work out for whoever this person is because of a depth deal at a particular position. But that's the hope, is that your team has made enough strides forward that a lot of the dudes you let go are going to be playing for somebody else. They've already got a good audition tape and are going to find, and you may see them down the road in the season. I think the exception to that rule in terms of this roster is going to be the trouble that they've had with all the health issues of the O-line and probably the tight end room. But for these receivers, we're going to see some of these guys in different unis in just a few weeks. I have no doubt about that.
How close, you don't put a guarantee on it, the Rhett Bryan guarantee. You don't have to do that. How close is Matt Barkley to being the number 2 quarterback of this team?
Well, he certainly took a step forward Saturday night, I think. But here's the thing, and here's the conundrum that the Titans, I think, are going to get into in this is, A.J. McCarron has torn an ACL.
Oh, I know. Arthur's looking like Mr. Burns right now.
Yes. Bring me Homer Simpson. So, does he go, all right, let's wait for them to release Logan, and boom, here we go, because I know he knows my system. At the end of the day, is Logan the guy you want if something happens to number 17, if something happens to Ryan Tannehill? Because whereas Matt Barkley's in his early 30s and has been around the block and has had starting time. And he's last 3 years with the Buffalo Bills. That's not a bad place to be. So you just got to look at it from those terms as to what's what. It's a numbers game. So with what Matt Barkley was able to do the other night, I think he's got a serious shot to be the backup. But every time that Logan Woodside throws a dime to, Des Fitzpatrick, who needed a shock paddle in this thing, it makes you think.
Absolutely. Rhett Bryan, our guest. We do have a caller, Wildcat, who wants to share a Floyd Reese story with you, Rhett, and with
awesome.
And with Blaine, both of you who worked with Floyd a lot longer than I did. But I also loved every time I ever got to talk to that guy. I loved that smile on his face. Wildcat, thanks for calling the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. Say hello to Rhett Bryan.
Hello, boo.
What's going on, sir? It's going to be short and sweet, but, when I was a kid, I was there when the Titans came, Titans came as the Oilers and all that. Big fan. And I remember when we had a good father and son moment going to the training camp, and Floyd Reese would be out there. And, players would sign autographs, after practice and all that. And I remember, hey, Mr. Floyd, come over here, sign autograph. And he would laugh and he would shake his head. But I didn't give up. Like 5 minutes later, I would yell at him, hey, Mr. Floyd, come over here. I need your autograph. I'd like to meet you. And the dude literally took time out of his own day talking to Jeff Fisher and came over here. And not only did he sign an autograph, he had like a 5-10 minute conversation with me and my dad. And, that's something that's hard to find in today's world, especially with tons of egos out there and whatnot. So just the moral of the story, the dude was just an awesome man. Like, you can't make this stuff up. That guy was really cool. So just want to throw that out there to y'all.
Yeah, thanks for the
Great
call,
story,
Wildcat.
man.
That's a great story, and that's one of many, I'm sure, just like that.
Yeah.
Very unassuming he was. That's why he got that laugh and like, nah, are you sure you want my autograph? You got here's Javon Curse or here's who, So I can hear that. I can visualize that. And Blaine, I think you're right. He deserves so much credit with you guys moving from Houston. I mean, he and Jeff Fisher as the two spearheads of this thing. I don't care. You can make all the 7-9, 8-8 jokes of Jeff Fisher all you want. It's amazing that you guys went 8-8 3 years playing in 3 different stadiums and eventually 4 different in consecutive seasons. But I know that those times when you felt like you were on an island by yourselves as a team, you were vagabonds, that's where you built your relationships. And then as you add in the Eddie Georges, the Steve McNairs, the free agents, drafting Javon Curse, that is what built that 99 and 2000 team that was lights out. I have no doubt.
Yeah. And that's where this team is getting now. John Robinson, in a short window here in the last 4 years, have built a really great roster, and it's going to have to make some tough cuts too. So I want to get your thoughts on the running back situation and your man Sargent. Where does he line up with Hill and McNichols, and with Evans nicked up? We don't know the extent of the injury. Hopefully it's something short term, but that could depend on who's the third guy.
I think Mekhi Sargent has a shot to make this roster. If he shows again Saturday night against the Bears, I think he's going to make his case. I think he's already maybe made his case in this thing because we don't know the extent of Darrington Evans and how long he's going to be shelved. And Jeremy McNichols has been very serviceable, but Mekhi Sargent's running with a purpose, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he's one of those Iowa dudes. Kirk Ferentz, how many guys he got playing in the league that are just seem like they're ready to roll? Yeah, exactly. I mean, we got one right back there in the secondary that's going to be great in Amani Hooker in year 3. I really like what I see out of him. You can tell he's taking a step forward, but you're right. I mean, there's tough decisions to be made. Lots of guys playing in other places that are not going to be on this roster. And you just hope that they've got the right personnel, because if that third down defense is straightened up a bit and the pass rush is better than what it's been, and the offense's continuity is, as good as it's been the last 30, 40 games, hey, here we go.
Well, speaking of that, are you a little nervous that, the offensive line and the offensive unit, the starters, haven't really been healthy enough to even practice? I'm cool if they were practicing, then that leads to games. So then I'm getting a little nervous that even they're going to be ready to start practicing.
Well, I know a lot of the ones have been held out for, load management reasons, but there's a concern there. I wouldn't, I understand where you're coming from, and they've had so many guys get dinged up, and especially in the back end of the rotation in this thing. So Yeah, and that's another thing where I'm glad we're after Saturday night. You've got, a little over 12, 13 days, whatever it is, before the regular season to try to get some health there.
Oh,
Rhett, fantastic stuff as always. Great broadcast. The coach's show tonight will not feature the coach, obviously, what he's dealing with, but you'll have the GM tonight.
The general manager that we've been speaking of, John Robinson, will take your questions on Twitter at Titans Radio. We urge you to bring those along. He will be glad to answer those at Titans Radio on Twitter. And we'll look forward to talking to you all tonight at 6 o'clock.
I'm giddy about it. Once we go to like our Titans weekly broadcast, all the stuff that you and Mike and Keith Bullock and Amy, knowing that stuff is on every evening, I cannot tell you how much I enjoy listening to it.
Listen, it's great.
Best.
Yeah, and very soon, just a couple of weeks from now,
Mac
it'll be
Talk, the whole thing.
It will be Mike Vrabel on Monday nights at 6, Mac Talk with Coach Mac and myself on Tuesday nights at 6, Keith Bullock's show, Titans Tonight, on Wednesday nights at 6, setting up the table for another week of Titans football.
I love it. It's football season. Rhett Bryan,
Yes.
no doubt. When we come back, I got to do something fun on Saturday night. I got to throw out a thank you to one of our listeners, and we'll keep this discussion going well. One of the Titans defensive backs got an unbelievably good compliment on Twitter from the guy who he may turn out to be like if everything goes well. We'll tell you that, too. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone.
Do I have everybody's attention now?
Coming up tomorrow morning.
Thanks to Mike, Keith, Coach Mac, and B-Hop Brad Hopkins for joining today's show.
You can listen to any of those conversations with our podcast.
That's right. Download or stream the podcast anywhere you get your audio.
Coming up Tuesday, we'll be joined by Eric Kane of the Sports Animal and the Locked on Vols podcast.
Plus, Michael McCarthy of Front Office Sports will talk sports business. Interact with us anytime on Twitter at JMart and Ramon.
JMart and Ramon, tomorrow morning from 6 to 10 a.m. on 104.5 The Zone.
There's a scene in Home Alone where Macaulay Culkin steals a toothbrush accidentally, and he takes it and he freaks out because he sees the next door neighbor who he thinks is trying to kill him. Sorry if I'm spoiling this movie for anybody Home Alone. Then he just starts running, and he gets to the ice rink, and he slides on his knees, remember? And he slides across the ice rink. Come on, Home Alone. You know this.
I remember Home Alone.
He
I don't remember
slides
this.
under the security guard.
He slides under the security guard.
Oh, no,
Alex Moulton pulled
Mhm.
the Home Alone.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, the security guard was not trying to block him. So, but I get where you're trying to get the sliding part
The
in.
sliding part. The
Yeah,
Home
it's in
Alone.
there.
He Home Aloned him.
I thought, man, I really, really appreciate and love that play. And it's more because it's about hustle. I don't even think he saw the guard. The guard was coming off, or the center, whoever it was coming off a double down. And he was really thinking, I'm about to beat this guy, initially the other, offensive lineman, and I'm inside him. And then he was already going to this, I call it a slither technique, where you kind of lean and you get low so you can get by the lineman because you're a lot smaller than them. And then when he saw the other guy at the last minute at his peripheral, he said, duck. And then meanwhile, he kind of stumbles a little bit over someone's foot or trying to get his footing because he saw him at the last minute and just kind of went underneath and used his, I'm sure he was a running back at the time, put his hand down, boom, bounced up off
right
the
back
ground,
up.
just like a running back. That's why all those things come in handy. And then went after the quarterback. So, yeah, it was, just exciting to see, he is, what I said that on Titans radio. He is what I thought he could be. He's that, in this era of football, that slot corner is a special dynamic player. He is actually a starting corner because if you go ask the starting corners on the outside, they can't do what he does, and he can't do what they do because he doesn't have the length.
Right.
Guess what? The first rounder, if he was blitzing there, he would have got smashed. Serious, point blank. I don't have to know nothing about him, but 6'3", 6'2", and trying to do what he did, you can't do it. But the 5'10" guy can do that. The 5'9" guy can do that. So it's just great to see because you're a multifaceted player in that you blitz, you play linebacker, you get after the quarterback, you play in the run game. You also have to have lateral quickness to now guard these slithery, fast, quick, dynamic slot receivers, let alone you have to have breakaway speed. And, it's kind of that hybrid corner safety guy. It's that hybrid guy, very valuable now. On our teams, it was Donald Mitchell,
Right.
Stevie Jackson when he got later in his career. Those guys were, they were special players. And now with three wides all over the place, that's what he provides, and that's worthy of a draft pick. So, yeah, I would say we got a good little taste of what he could be right there, all in one game. We got to see it all. Tackles, reaction time, toughness,
Yep.
the want to, the never give up. He's just a heck of a football player, and I think it resonates with me because I feel like my style was somewhat similar in that I played hard, but I was a football guy. You put me on the measuring tape, I'm not going to be the fastest. I'm not going to be the tallest. But when you turn on the tape, you go, we're going to have to address this guy. And that's what Molden's going to be.
Mm-hmm. He got a tweet from Tyrann Mathieu who said people will regret not drafting him sooner. Then he said, real football guy. Just exactly what you just said.
Yeah, that's just, and what happens is in the draft, people get caught in the measurables. And it's really fascinating to me because it goes on, every team is doing it. And we as players go, well, dang, man, we took this guy in the first round. And you can name any guy. And we go, man, well, how long is it going to take him to develop? We need him now, depending on where your team is at. It may take him another year. With the guy in the third round, you feel like, man, this guy, he's ready to go right now. Now, he may have peaked already. And, the upside of the talented first-round pick is always there. But there's always a risk that he never reaches that talent.
Right.
And it goes on and on forever. But that upside, boy, if they do, like I don't know if Farley's going to ever. Everybody's all fascinated with his size and his length, and I am too. Yeah. But when I saw Scotty Miller run right by him on the out and up, and he didn't give him a lot. He just said, "Hey, I'm on out." Did he look back for the ball? Nope. He didn't give him anything to suck him in, and he said, "I'm about to hit the afterburners." That was just a bad ball.
Throw him out of bounds.
Yeah, he was open, and he got beat, and he was not gaining ground. So remember, that was one of my concerns about that surgery is you never reach back to that top end speed. This is coming from someone who played receiver and had that surgery. And they just said they could never recreate. And this guy was a 4.3 guy all day long. He said, I never could get back to that. He said, I got back to like 4 or 5, but that my game was built around speed. And if we want to ask him, that was Chris Sanders.
Yeah.
Had that same surgery. And guess what? His career ended because of the back surgery. So, and this is a different time. Sure, he get better, but he still says when he came back, that was the final straw that he just could never recreate. He couldn't get it back. He just couldn't. And this guy worked out like a demon. Talking about running in the sand pits and all kind of, man, this guy.
It wasn't a lack of work on his part.
Yeah. No doubt. Yeah, no doubt.
Well, we did get a little taste of it again with the.
That was awesome to see, though. Wow.
And like you said, he stuck his nose in the line on run plays. He was instinctive all over the field. All those things you're talking about. And that's why all the talk about Christian Fulton, and I know we got to take a break, but it's like a lot of people who listen to the station and people who follow the Titans, like, you can just stick him in the slot. No, it's a different thing. It's two. I know it's both as cornerback.
That's Amari Rowe.
Right.
He was elated when Donovan said, "Oh yeah, you can have that." He like blitzing it all. When you see some big 6'5" guy coming at you and you don't have nowhere to go,
nope.
You go, you want me to blitz in the A gap? You loop around. Why can't the D lineman loop there and I go just stay outside? Yeah, well, that's how it's set up because they don't expect you to go in there.
Hey, man, come on in, little fella. Let's see what you got.
Yeah, exactly. So that was, he was the highlight of the game. Besides the backup quarterback battle, I love how they implemented them going 2 series back-to-back because that's exactly how you'll be as a backup quarterback. You know, you got to go in there at the last minute and, hey, we got to keep things rolling.
Right.
That's the most pressure you can have. And they told them they were going to do that. So I really like that. As much as I like Logan Woodside, I think Barkley, if they do that again, Barkley's only been here 2 weeks, let's say that.
Yeah.
And he looked already like it's a draw. And to me, if I'm saying it's a draw now, then Barkley's the guy. And I hate it because Woodside, he's been here and he deserves it. And, you know, he talk about he can get picked up by, you know, the Falcons.
Yeah.
But, hey, it's about winning. And if Barkley gives you the best chance of winning with Tannehill, if he ever goes down, knock on wood, yeah, I think you could care less and you could find another quarterback to develop or to put on that practice squad where he can learn the offense.
Well, we'll certainly continue this discussion into the next hour. Hope to tap into some of these post-practice press conferences. The Titans will be doing that in the second hour of the show. We hope to check in there as well. We'll also have our Ding Dong of the Week coming up in hour number 2. So you can go ahead and hit us in the Zone TV chat with your Ding Dong of the Week. And you can also tweet us at Blaine and Mickey. This is Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone.
The Titans and Bears end the preseason together in Nashville. Kickoff is Saturday night at 6 on your home for Titans football. 104.5 The Zone.
If you live in Tennessee, you know about the opioid crisis. You have to know about it because it's
limited sample size of Farley compared to Molden, who played pretty much the whole first half. Let's just say that. Compared to 16 plays by Farley. See how we got to see? Oh, okay. So that's really Barkley when he got here last week when he played, with the against the Falcons. Shaky a little bit here and there, but you didn't see anything like, he's going to win his job. No, you felt like, Woodside still's the guy. Well, okay, let's see what Farley does when he comes back this next week if he plays. See if he gets better and build on what he did last week and gets better. Molden went right in and played great because he's been practicing. So I would say Barkley, as much as it pains me being a Mac guy, I think he's the leader right now just because of the time span, and he's come in and done just as good as Woodside, if not better. And the reason why I say better is he threatened the ball going downfield. And that's kind of personal to me being a defensive back. Whenever the quarterback's throwing, down the field. When I say that, I mean like 20 yards or more. He's affecting the game a little bit differently than Woodside. Woodside was a lot more comfortable with some dink and dunk. Not to say he doesn't have a strong arm. He just didn't threaten the defense in that manner.
The thing that has stood out to me in Woodside in this preseason is this, and yes, Barkley's definitely pushed the ball down the field more. Woodside's taking a bunch of sacks on third down.
He's holding on to the ball.
His clock ain't dinging. I mean, like, hey, man, ding, 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 ding. Wake up. Throw.
Yeah. If not, we're going to have to put him on the ding-dong list.
Hey, Cousin Paxton called in to wait on this Titans court. This has been a fun competition to watch, and they got one more game in front of the home fans to sort this out. I can't wait to see how it goes. Cousin Paxton wants to weigh in on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline on the Titans quarterbacks. What's going on, Cousin?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? So, listen, from what I see, Matt Barkley is QB2, man, and it's not even close, in my opinion. I mean, the guy, that pass, like you said, Blaine, that he threw to Kenzie was a freaking rope. And let's talk about Kenzie. Like, man, let me remind you, like, isn't he a Patriot-like receiver? Like, doesn't he just remind you of a guy?
There you go. No, he knows Adam Humphries-like.
Adam Humphrey should have been like if he was healthy. And we all know how, Vrabel and J-Rob love some Patriot-like players.
Yeah.
This guy right here, man, I think he needs to be on the roster. I'm enjoying watching Kenzie play. He's a dog, man. He's a football player. And can we talk about Molden for a second? My God, dude. Is that not Finnegan 2.0 or what?
Yes, it is.
Is he not? Like, my goodness. Honey Badger-like, right?
Yep.
I mean, he's a dog of a player, man. I know it's preseason, guys, but I'm excited about this defense. What I've seen, and just they're flying around everywhere. They're getting to the ball. They're making plays, and they're giving them 100%, man. This is a complete turnaround. I'm excited, guys. Tighten up. Love you guys. We'll see you later.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to disagree with that. The defense looks totally different. I know they've got some changes, like 5 players or so, but they're flying around making plays, and it's been consistent. I told you, practice is actually how you're going to be for the defense, and they have continued that in games. I mean, it didn't matter who's in there. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, first string, second string, third, they are hunting, and that's all you can ask. And then guess what? You mess up going full speed. The next guy's going to keep coming. He's coming. He'll get it. Yeah, so I really love it. Shane Bowen, I think now we can say it's his defense. And, a lot of people say, it's contributors, whether it be Vrabel or my man Schwartzy or whatever. I think they have small roles. I think just him identifying he's the guy, and now he's making all the calls and is going through and making sure the message is the same all throughout all the meetings. I think that's shown here early on. And, guys are playing up to who they are or we expect them to be. And that Jack Rabbit, I mean, all of them. And this defense looks good. I mean, I'm more concerned now, to be honest. I'm only basing off what I see. I haven't seen the first team offense out there in a preseason game. So right. I haven't seen them. Everybody's kind of banged up at different spots. So I got to wait to see them. I'm actually getting to the point where I'm starting to, and this is dangerous, to feel comfortable that, hey, man, I think we'll have a top 20 defense. I really feel like that. If not that, then they're going to create a lot of turnovers.
And we still haven't seen Autry. We still haven't seen Bud Dupree. I mean, there's some parts of the defense still that we haven't even seen.
Key pieces.
Yeah.
That are proven in this league.
Yeah.
To be impactful.
And
I told you,
this is looking pretty good.
And the offense got to We cannot, please do not, everyone, make an assumption because last year what happened, and they got even now added Julio, that it's going to be the same. You do not do that. Just imagine if the players did the same thing. Then they would not be a top 3 offense in the NFL. They'll be a bottom 3, and they'll take things for granted. I know this unit won't do that, but we got to get them all healthy and working on timing and rhythm and everything else. And, by the way, new coordinator who's going to try to implement, I'm sure, if I was guessing, his style and imprint on the team. Now, he'd be a ding-dong to change everything that they did. That nobody's going to do that. But everybody wants to say, we're going to do these things differently than we did in the past. Guaranteed. To put his stamp and say, this is my offense. And they're going to still do a lot of what they did, but they're going to have some changes in the passing game. I guarantee.
Yeah.
As Barkley would say.
No doubt. No doubt. As a listener pointed out that I say that we say no doubt and no doubt. So now I can't
now
stop
you have
saying,
to say it like 4 times after
I can't stop saying it because I'm thinking about saying it.
No doubt, Mickey.
No doubt about it, Blaine. Mark Spain, he does our Ding Dong of the Week segment. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today and start packing, or as we like to say, don't be a ding dong, use Mark Spain. Let me read a couple out of the chat. We'll come back. We'll give our ding dongs. Then we'll check in on the Titans live post-practice Zooms. Cousin Tower says, not a sport ding dong, but the crate challenge. Come on, people. Have you seen this?
Oh, my.
Ding dongs.
No. What? No question.
Man. The guy gave us more. Rick, he called us like, here's some suggestions. Say no question. Or I certainly agree. Blaine. People climbing these milk crates. If you Google that, you can see a bunch of people getting hurt 10 feet in the air on milk crates. Lonzo says, my ding dong of the week are Colts fans that are excited that Wentz is coming back. He came out today and threw like the whole 7-on-7 period.
Yeah, I saw him doing cut and drill. I just saw him doing it. Nelson did too.
They're going to hurt both of those guys.
I'm like, what doctor? I should have gone to that foot doctor.
You're fine.
Dr.
Like
Anderson.
Miracle fix. Wing, magic.
Hey, man, they look pretty good, man. I don't know, man. They looked really good from the movements that they were doing. I'm like, whoa. They look like they're going to be week 1. That's a far gone conclusion. They will be out there.
Oh, that's 2 weeks away. Yeah, they're yeah. So there we go. But if I'm Andrew Luck, I'm like, hey, man, come back on your own timeline. I wouldn't trust anybody in this building. I'm home reading books right now. Hey, man, don't rush back.
Wait, here's what you're forgetting.
I know. They're going to lose their job.
Right, exactly.
You tell me that all the time. You got to come back now.
The more opportunity you give someone else, you say, well, we could take a pay cut and we could, I mean.
I know.
This guy, he may not be you.
I know.
But maybe in a couple years, we can save us some money next year. So
yeah.
you could be opening up, not for this year. We know that who's going to be on the team. But for the next year, they'll start saying, hey, man, if he doesn't play up to par, and they're going to go back and start looking at the preseason and go, well, look at Jacob Eason right here. Look like he's making this throw. I don't think Wentz can make this throw. We saw his whole body at work throughout this whole season. I think we can let him go.
Oh, gosh. I know.
No, I'm just kidding.
I know, but you remind me of that. It's like, guys are not
else.
going to do that. They're going to come back the second they can walk. Okay, I'm fine.
I can play.
Here I am.
If
they
can fight through it, they're going to play.
Yep.
And I would be like you in this modern era. I think most teams try to err on the side of caution a little bit more, give you that extra week. I know Vrabel does. It's a little bit different. He was a former player. Reich was too. So you try to keep guys and hone them back just to make sure. But I don't think they would put their quarterback out there unless they believed that he could stay healthy. The way he was cutting, he was looking pretty good.
Foot surgery. He was out there running. Woo, woo.
I mean, it must have been a scope. Like, that thing. I'm like, huh? How is he? And then when they were saying he was out there watching practice like last week standing, I would have been like, he had no boot on? Like, I don't want him even out here standing. You can sit in the chair. No, he was fine last week. He had on cleats last week out there watching practice.
Oh, man.
Like,
hey, man, slow your roll there.
Man, I need them to fix a couple things on me. Who's that doctor?
Yeah, I'd like to see him just for general aches and pains. All right, it's Blaine and Mickey. We'll cut into some of these Titans press conferences live. Lucas said Shane Bowen is set to speak, so we hope to hear from Titans defensive coordinator as well as maybe a player or two. We will also share our ding-dongs, ding-dong of the week. We will give you ours when we come back. It's Blaine and Mickey, Monday edition on 104.5 The Zone.
Dawn Davenport is on the sidelines for the biggest games in college football. Her access to the SEC is unmatched. And not to mention, she should have been on the U.S. volleyball team.
No, I never once would insinuate that. Trust me.
To 3HL with Brett Doherty, Dawn Davenport, and Ron Slay. Today, starting at 3 on 104.5 The Zone.
Guys compete like it's a competitive roster. Like we talked about it Saturday, we talked about it again today. Like those last few spots at every position, like time will tell. We got the clock's ticking, but I mean they're still battling it out. Nothing's been decided yet, and I think the guys are taking that to heart and they're making the most of their opportunities.
Third down was a big issue for you guys last year. So far, so good. Like Brett Kearney's getting a lot of work. What would you say is the reason for the better performance on third downs?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been emphasized for us all training camp, all off season. Like I mentioned before even the preseason started, like we're not going to lose sight of what we're emphasizing just because it's a preseason game, right? So there's a mentality that comes with that as a unit. There's a mentality that comes with it as individual players winning your one-on-ones, whether it's up front, whether it's in the back end. And I think the guys are challenging. We're trying to make them earn everything. We are, and we're trying to be tighter, trying to do a lot of different things right now. And I think the guys are taking it to heart, and they're playing with confidence. Like we've found ways to get off the field, and I think it's kind of building confidence in their abilities and our ability as a unit.
David Long done to be more involved as we're seeing him out there.
Yeah, man, he's made a lot of plays. I think he's came in, and he's always been an instinctive player for us. I think he's more consistent right now. And then third down, I think he brings a different element for us just in his some of his coverage ability and zone coverage and some of his man stuff, and then being able to blitz, right? He's just a different skill set. I mean, obviously we're a little bit retooled there with the addition of Nico. The personnel's kind of shifted a little bit in that regard. So it's just kind of freed him up to go out there and make some plays and do some things for us to utilize his skill set.
As far as the big picture goes, you think the joint practice has helped you? Maybe especially Thursday when some of the young guys had to face Brady and maybe dealt with a little bit of adversity there.
Yeah, I think they're great. I do. I mean, not only to not bang our head against the same guys every single day, right, to get some new blood. But you go down to Tampa Bay, you're playing the best of the best, right? They won the Super Bowl. I think the competitive juices go out a little bit more that day just because it's not the same guys that you've seen for 2 weeks. I think they get a taste of really what it's going to be other than just our guys, especially for the young guys. I mean, anytime you go up against Brady, I mean, they got great receiving core. They've done a lot of good things on offense. I hope it's a wake-up call to our guys. And whether we do well or we struggle, I hope it kind of gives us a gauge of where we're at.
Talked about Farley earlier, working out the rust, but do you see occasional moments, and kind of those wow moments that make you say, this is why he's our guy, this is what we're going to see more of in the future?
Yeah, you definitely see the flashes with him. I mean, he's a big, long dude who's athletic, right? Again, I think as he gets more comfortable and used to playing again and consistently the repetition of all the techniques and fundamentals that we're talking about, and then the situational awareness of the game, being in zone, being a man. Is it 1st and 10? Is it 2nd and 2? Is it 3rd and 11? Right? Like there's a lot of things that go into playing this game besides just lining up and covering my guy, right? And being able to say, hey, well, I covered him. Well, you got to do a lot of things to get there and understand how to do it. So, I mean, it's a process. I've seen improvement with him. You see the flashes. So I'm excited about where he's at. I am. Like, he's learning every day. He's working hard. He's out there battling. It ain't always going to be perfect with anybody, especially with the rooks. But I'm encouraged by him. I know he's going to continue to improve. Hopefully find out where he's at here in a few weeks.
The fact that he hasn't played cornerback all that long in his life.
Yeah, I mean, I think more is just it's been a while, right? Like he hasn't played in a long time, and then he's coming off an injury. So, I mean, those are two pretty significant things to come back from and get tossed out there in the fire and let's get up to speed. Like it's just a process. It takes time getting back from that stuff. Thanks, fellas.
Titans defensive coordinator Shane Bowen wrapping up his press availability today with the Titans, talking about turnovers. They've been very optimistic in that regard, Blaine. Part of what they're doing on defense is just creating chaos. Like quarterbacks aren't able to set their feet when they throw. They're gang tackling. And I know it's a pretty simple. I know it's a pretty simple game plan that everybody's running right now, but they've sent some people on blitzes. They've been successful there, but an uncomfortable quarterback will give you the ball, and they've made just about every quarterback that they've seen uncomfortable in the preseason, and that lends itself to getting turnovers. And I always think about Javon Curse when you guys got him. Told you I'd gone back, and you got like 3 times more turnovers in 99 than you did in 98 as the defense, because the quarterback was like, I got to get rid of the ball now. I got to make some decisions quick.
Yeah, it was more like 1, 2, 3. And then when he got there, we went 1, 2, 3. Yeah. That ball better be out. So, one thing is they're creating an identity. It didn't matter, who's on the football field. You saw an aggressive style defense, everybody hunting from D-line to if you were blitzing or not blitzing, everybody understanding their responsibilities and what they should be doing. You haven't seen any blown coverages. Just it's an aggressive mindset and playing with an air of confidence and something to prove, which is a lot of new guys. So some of these guys, they don't know what happened last year. They could say, they're emphasizing third down or what have you, but they're not saying, well, because we did horrible at this last year, we're going to do. No, they're not. They're just saying we need to be much more efficient. Let's focus a little bit more on it, but not too much. And guys are going out there and they're playing. I'm thoroughly impressed. As I told you, I am. I see this defense. If they're not in the top 20, I want to give them 15, but I can't go that far quite yet because I haven't seen some of the bigger studs out there, whether it's Archery or Bud Dupree, and see what they bring to the table. But right now, the mindset is there to play defense. This is how you play defense. Didn't see any of this last year for whatever reason, not consistently anyway. In particular, third down, as we all know.
Oh, gosh, yes. I mean, when you got to be aggressive on third down, they weren't aggressive. They got burned repeatedly. And Mike Vrabel talks a lot about, we just got to get third and longer. We got to play better on first and second down. Well, teams were converting 3rd and 8, 9, 10, 14, 16.
Well, he had to protect the unit.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't want to throw him under the bus. I mean,
he did not.
At the end of the day, he threw him under the bus when you saw the turnover at the end of the season with changes on defense.
Hey, man.
Yeah,
y'all got to go.
Players.
Yeah, a whole different unit.
Style.
And that's one of the reasons all the national guys who are counting out the Titans defense, it's completely different guys. You don't know how this is going to go. I mean, all you can do is watch what they're doing right now with the different guys, and the different guys are playing well.
Yeah. Well, explain to me from a media viewpoint, okay, most of those national guys were local guys at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're now become national guys, their opinion is viewed differently than a local media, member like ourselves. Why don't they know that the team has changed? This is a different defense and how they looked. Because they should be basing off of local media who they have sources with to have conversations. So how do they keep missing? No different than they keep missing the Tannehill and want to go back to the Tannehill with the Dolphins. We haven't seen any of that since he's been here, since day one. That's why I've always said, let's judge him for what we see here. I didn't watch him every day or in games with the Dolphins. I can look at his stats and say, hey, man, this guy was slinging it all over the place.
I think part of it is they just don't have time to watch 32 teams, and they got an idea of what they think about it.
You supposed to have your sources to call and just have conversations. Say, hey, what do you think?
To me, that tells me that's who doesn't have a source, say in Nashville. If you're continuing saying, well, the defense is not good, that tells me you're not doing your homework. You don't know it's completely different guys.
Well, that kind of irritates me because, us being part of the media here locally, I feel like it's our job to make sure we get it to them, and they should be reading it or are giving some of the members. It's a whole bunch of media members here.
Yep.
I mean, give them a call. Or you can even call the Titans. I mean, Jim Wyatt, he could tell you exactly what's going on with this team.
Yeah, they seem to have missed it.
Well,
Keep
let them be
it with Tannehill.
Surprised
Lazy takes.
when they go play, this defense is hunting. I mean, this is giving me shades. I can't wait to see Dupree and Archery because I think they bring a whole nother element and put them on a whole nother plane. And we're talking about dudes up front.
Yep.
I mean, man, this one here, man, if they do what they're supposed to do, I like to see where they end up at the end of the season ranked as a defense. It could be top 10 potential.
Me too. All right, before we share our ding dong of the week, we have this is Bam online too. Is this my Bam, drummer Bam?
That's me, man. What's up, homie?
What's going on? Hey, I have to say thank you. Bam called me. I got to sit in with him and the legendary Super T that everybody knows, has seen this guy play for decades all over the place.
Oh, so you got a big-time band? This is Bam?
Bam let me get up on stage with them at Bourbon Street on Saturday night and let me play a couple songs, and I had the time of my life. That's a big deal in the music world for somebody to trust you, and that guy trusted me to get up there with a bunch of A-plus musicians, including himself. Thank you, Bam.
Man, chill, man. It was my pleasure, man. Thank you. And you did a hell of a job, man. You locked the groove down. The foundation was there. And I could just tell you feeling it, man. You're getting in your groove and stuff, man. That was a beautiful moment, man.
It really was.
Moment, man.
That guy didn't get to come out too often, Bam. You set him free that night. That was a heck of a night
I
for.
could tell. We let the gorilla out of his cage that night.
Yeah, we did.
The vanilla gorilla. That's right.
Yeah, we saw you up close and personal with the somebody was
Now,
videoing
look,
it.
Blaine, now you're the hitman on the stage, and Mickey's the hitman on the stage. You're the hitman on the field, Blaine.
Yeah,
Mickey's
yeah.
the hitman on the stage.
He provided the hits, and I just try to play them. Yeah.
Oh, you got that. Nice.
Nah, but look, man, this defense is actually looking like pretty, almost kind of scary, man. Because if you look at the way we were, like, this defense is already better than the defense we had last year. This is preseason. I don't care what nobody says. Like, I'm a diehard fan. Like, we almost had, between the last two games, we've almost had more sacks in the preseason than we had all regular season last year. So I kind of want people to kind of lay off the defense saying, them boys is playing with a lot of heart, man.
Yeah, and they Bam, again,
I
thank you,
completely
man.
agree with that. And we got to tip the cap, not just to the secondary. The guys up front are coming after it. It doesn't matter who. I mean, we could say, oh, Rush. Who's Rush? Well, Rush is actually, we're not talking about Rush in the pack. He's a guy. I mean, these guys they're getting after it.
And Pecco, and
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
These two named linebackers, I have no idea who they are, right? I'm like, man, they've done a great job of creating the identity and attitude that you must have to play defense in the National Football League. And it's going to be interesting when you see all the pieces, and only two more pieces are left. Well, you can count Farley as a third piece because he's trying to get up to speed and see what his body can handle at this point. But when you see Autry and Bud Dupree, I just want to see them line up on the same side. What you going to do with that?
Okay.
People are not there. Autry is an underrated, really good player. Really good. He can play multiple positions. He can get after the passer.
Yep, it's a short route, as you always say. That guy in the middle right there, he's got the shortest route to the quarterback. Yeah. And that guy's shown he knows how to find a quarterback. All right, we got to find our ding-dongs for Ding Dong of the Week right quick, because Austin Gayle of PFF is going to join us for the last segment of the show. Again, Mark Spain sponsoring this segment for us each week. You can go to markspain.com, get a guaranteed offer on your home today, and start packing. We had a bunch of ding-dongs from fans in the chat. Buckshot Carey had sent one more. My ding-dong is a quarterback who tripped on back-to-back plays over his own lineman.
Oh, who was that?
It was some – I don't remember.
Oh.
I just remember seeing – the video on ESPN and being half asleep on the couch Saturday night after the game.
It happened twice?
Twice in a row.
Oh, did he stepped on his foot?
Yes, tripped twice in a row. I think yours is something that we hit on earlier, and it's people making dumb decisions involving milk transportation devices, correct?
Oh, man, those carts and everybody stacking them up and so you can walk up and down them. Man, you got to be crazy, man. You better go on out of here with that. Somebody's going to break their neck. When you fall, you have no idea what's going on. Your legs are swiped from underneath you, and you have no idea how you're going to land. You're going to mess up a back, a neck, or something. So, man, they better stop that. Stop, please. Somebody's going to get hurt.
And everybody's taping it. Like, you're going to see me make a fool of myself.
Yeah.
But make sure.
Oh, it's hilarious. Watch it. But all I think about is if that was me, I might have broke something right there. So I will not be attempting any of that. All right, and my second one, I have two, real quick.
Okay, Mr. Double Ding Dong.
Is someone named an animal after their quarterback, and then not their actual animal, the zoo did. Can you figure it out? It's in Florida. So there's a new baby giraffe in Jacksonville Zoo they named it Trevor.
I thought you were going to say the Tampa Bay Zoo named a goat Tom or something.
No, that I
know
get
y'all
on
thinking
board
Tampa
with.
because we just played there.
They'll name
It's
a
Trevor.
giraffe Trevor, and Urban Meyer still won't name him the starter.
Yeah.
The zoo pulled the trigger on that before Herb.
Yeah, but what I wanted to say, though, to add to it, I just wanted to know if the giraffe's hair on his neck was as nice as Trevor Lawrence's hair. And then if not, then he cannot have that name.
Lucas, what is your ding dong for this week, thanks to Mark Spain?
Just the Chicago Bears in general
Bears.
for pretending Andy Dalton is their starting quarterback.
What are we doing there? We need to just ask Austin Gayle.
What, he's pretending?
They got to be pretending because he ain't going to be their starting quarterback by week 4.
And the backup is going in a news conference and defending him, saying, he's just playing football, guys. Please stop booing him. All he's doing is his job. He's being defended by the backup right now.
Hey, how did Fields look in the game?
Pretty good.
It looked like the game was going a little too fast.
Yeah. Maybe he spoke a little too soon when he said the game was slow for him last week, but
you never say that.
Looked better, more athletic than Andy Dalton, that's for sure.
Oh, well, yeah, he's a better athlete, but how did he? They only scored like how many points?
Oh no, yeah, they got drilled. I'm not saying they're going to be good.
No. So who looked better, Andy Dalton or
Justin Fields? Justin Fields.
Okay. All righty. People must not forget the Bears made the playoffs last year. I know that's hard to think about, but they made the playoffs last year. See, because I don't think of them like, oh, they made the playoffs.
Washington football team.
Yeah, no. And remember, they beat Tampa Bay. We watched it because remember, Tom Brady thought they had 5 downs.
I doubt it. All right, mine on the way out. Benny LeMay, the Colts guy who carried 7 people 7 yards and flexed, he got fined $3,667 for that. That's about half of what he's going to make in the preseason. He probably won't make the team. They've taken half of this man's money because he dared to flex his muscle after carrying 7 guys 7 yards in an NFL game. Because you get a little stipend. They're taking half of his money. All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, Austin Gayle of PFF next on Blaine and Mickey.
It's the third and final preseason game, and the Titans welcome Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears to Nissan Stadium. Thank you, NFL, for shortening the preseason and giving us an extra regular season game. What a catch! Mike Keith and Coach Mack have the kickoff Saturday night at 6 on your home for Titans football and flagship for Titans Radio. 104.5 The Zone.
for his car. He said he was okay, so hopefully everything is okay with him. Austin Gayle, though, had to bail.
We have to just add that to the ding-dong that hit him.
No doubt.
Yeah,
He
I'm
said
glad
the
he's
guy's
doing safe, though.
He said the guy's going crazy who hit him. I'm like, hey, man, you hit me. What's wrong with you?
You should have told him you're talking to the hitman.
Hey, man,
No,
I got the
just kidding.
hitman on the line. That guy would know what the hitman, like hitman? Like, yeah, I got the hitman on the line. Bunch of phone calls today on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. We appreciate that. We always like to say, if we're just talking about something, you call and join the discussion. We've got a couple of calls today about Floyd Reese as well. I know we had a caller who jumped online and had some points he wanted to make about Floyd, but had to jump off the line. We do have time to squeeze in another call or two if you want to jump in the mix. Again, 615-737-1045. But we continue to talk about the Titans' performance on Saturday night. And we've talked a lot about the backup quarterbacks. We've talked about Elijah Molden. We've talked about the defense a lot, the wide receiver room. Sam Ficken we've only mentioned this. Sam Ficken hit a 58-yard kick. He's been good in practice. I think he's been perfect in his game so far.
48.
Yeah.
And a 48.
And as part of the Titans having to get down to 80 players, which every team has to do by tomorrow at 3 o'clock, they waived injured 3 players. Paul Adams, the locally based offensive lineman, Ross Reynolds, another offensive lineman, and Tucker McCann just got waived and was injured in the game against the Falcons. The kicker, Anthony Rush, put on the reserve COVID-19 list. We don't get details with that. We just know that he is on the list. Anthony Rush is on the list. So those moves made, I don't know if they've got another corresponding. I didn't count the number of players on the roster. I don't know if they have one more or 2 more or no more numbers they've got to make. But there's nobody left, Blaine, on this roster who kicks footballs. Like there's Rhett Kern who punts them, and there's Ficken who's kicking, and that's it. So Gostkowski is at home right now vacuuming or something. I mean, I guess he remains a possibility. But Ficken's $800,000 or something if he's your kicker, and he's making his kicks, and he's making NFL kicks, as you pointed out. I'd forgotten about this. On a touchback, he hit the goalpost.
Yeah,
that dude's doing his job.
I don't think Gostkowski is in the mix as of today.
Right,
that could all changes and it's fluid, with the kicker. But we can't have him go out there in the next game, leg swipe, the ball, and next thing you know, it's a knuckleball. So. But he's playing with confidence, and he looks to be the part to be the starting kicker. So I'm happy. I'm glad they got the kicker situation. That was a huge concern of mine, being that when you're a championship caliber team and you're going on that run, you don't want to have any doubts about kicking. And it's such a technical position. I'm glad they used your idea and brought in a kicking coach. And, as we all, both referenced, but you said the actual name of the person, and that is the person who they used because I know nothing about kicking. So that, it's just good to see getting the defense together. Only next concern is make sure we get everybody healthy on the offensive line and get the offense out there, the unit working in unison as one group. And then after that, if they get everybody healthy, I think we're in for a big season for the Tennessee Titans. And I'm waiting because I'm really interested to see if they have a good balanced team. And one day it could be the defense in a game played great. The next game it could be the offense and the defense just played okay. I think now you got a balanced unit here, passing the ball, running the ball, zone, blitzing. I don't think the sky's the limit right now. I just got to see the offense out here. I don't take anything for granted. This is a prove-it league. Even Julio, I got to see it to believe it. When the regular season starts, you never know.
How much because people are bringing this up. So last year there were no preseason games, and then the season started, and it went okay. People thought, oh gosh, it's going to be a train wreck. It wasn't. They played like NFL football players.
I thought the season started off my personal opinion.
Okay.
I thought tackling was horrendous in the first 2 or 3 weeks. I'm always looking at it from a defensive point of view, and because they didn't get to tackle very much. and I thought the rhythm and timing a little bit off for certain units until they got into a rhythm, and then offense kind of took off. Not just the Titans. I'm talking about all the offenses across the league. And I thought that kind of carried throughout the whole season. Really, the offense with defensive players not really coming together until at the end, as we saw the defense play really well the last 3 or 4 games and then into the playoffs.
What would your concern level be if, and let's do, because we got a couple minutes, both sides of the ball, if they go out and they take the field week 1, and that's the first, because we still don't know much about Bud Dupree and his availability. Let's say that they deem like you're okay, you can play week 1. So let's say he plays week 1, Danico, Autry, most everybody else, the contributors have played at least some. Byer was out there, the hooker, the cornerbacks are playing some.
Yeah, Molden finally got out there. Mm-hmm.
So it's probably going to be Fulton in the beginning, starting
at corner.
At corner. But on the defensive side of the ball, no Autry until right then, no Bud Dupree until right then, week 1. You okay with that?
I think I am. I'm more concerned to make sure they get healthy. Autry, I don't know what his issue is. They may could be just rested because he's a vet.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bud Dupree coming off an ACL. Yeah, I'm cool with him resting him and getting him ready. I was always concerned if he would be ready that first game.
And we don't know.
Because he's looked so good at the times he did practice. Yep. Hats off to him and coming back and really working really hard. Because usually when you come back from ACL, especially he got it in, December? Is those first 2 or 3 games, you're trying to figure out what you can and can't do in live action. What your body used to do until you start gaining confidence that you can do those things. And some guys, it kind of carries with them until about, 6 games in. They say, okay, now I'm back. I feel like I can do the things I used to do. So I don't know. He may get it the first game.
Right.
I have no idea the way he's looked, during the times that he's practiced. But I feel pretty comfortable. Defense is a little bit different, especially up front, because you're not really paying attention to them until you see them make a big play.
Mm-hmm.
So see ball, go get ball. Once he starts rushing, he's going to gain. And he's a high motor guy. So he brings it. I mean, he does. He's relentless. People watch Bud Dupree. You are getting a relentless player who doesn't stop. He has a high engine, high motor type guy. So he's come from the background of where, you think a guy that's not as talented, but just a really good football player at the NFL level. But he's more than that. So I want to see what he can bring to the table. So, yeah, I'm pumped up and excited about the defense. Right now, I'm still on the stalemate on the offense. I got high early when we signed Julio, and then he was practicing the OTAs, and then all of a sudden now we haven't seen any of the offensive line. They cut injured 2 guys. So I'm thinking, they must know that some of these guys are going to be back.
Yeah.
That's what I'm assuming, but I could be wrong. I hate to make assumptions, but that's all we can get with injured guys.
Yeah.
We find out, A.J. Brown is dealing with some small issue with his knee swelling. I'm going to just say that. I have no idea what the extent of it is. Probably one of the ones he got scoped, got irritated. You say, okay, slow it down.
And you brought that up because people saw pictures of him in a red sleeve on his leg. And
He'd never worn a sleeve before on his entire leg. Now, he's worn tights out there, but I never saw a long sleeve on any knee. And so, that's why I was saying that. That's happened numerous times to me.
Swelled up knee.
Yeah. Then they just said, go sit in the chair.
We're going to go find Blaine a knee sleeve. We'll go do some shopping. Coach Mack will join us tomorrow. We'll get all the latest on the Titans with him. Hopefully have some more information.
Two-tone blue knee sleeve, man.
Oh, that'd look good. Hopefully maybe some more information on Mike Vrabel by then as well, who did test positive for COVID. And I'm sure is trying to test his way out of that protocol. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody.
Happy Monday. As always, from the Blaine and Mickey Show, peace.
Titans fix? Bam! Just ask Alexa to play 104.5 The Zone, your home for Titans football and the flagship for Titans radio. 104.5 The